No one ever made a difference by being like everyone else.
I can't just run off and join the circus.
Why not? I mean, you clearly have a flair for show business.
For show business?
Mm-hmm.
I've never heard of it.
Because I just invented it.
Hello once again, watchers of good movies. My name is Nick Pell, and this is my review of The Greatest Showman. Now, to my knowledge, this film was originally supposed to come out last year. It decided not to, though. It was delayed a year due to La La Land coming out, and they both being musicals of sorts. They didn't really want to compete since La La Land was getting a lot of press and Oscar buzz and everything. So they made a decision, put it back to this year, and let's see if it was worth it. For those who are not aware, this is the story of P.T. Barnum. He is the person who came up with the idea for the circus, basically taking all these really interesting and different types of people who are treated by society as freaks, essentially, and outcasts, and are hidden by their parents because of their differences and abnormalities. They are brought into the circus. Hugh Jackman's character, P.T. Barnum, he recruits them, puts them in a show, and makes them stars, essentially. And it's the story of how he came up with the idea and kind of how his aspirations began to get the better of him and began to affect his family life to an extent. And Hugh Jackman just kills it in this film. I really, really enjoyed him in the P.T. Barnum role. He is very energetic. He just has his life to him, which is very infectious and just makes him a joy to watch on screen. We know that he can sing because we saw him in Les Miserables, and I think he's done other stage productions besides that. And so we know that he has this talented voice despite him being Wolverine. And it really comes out. He is the star or the main voice in a lot of the musical ensembles in this film, along with some solos and duets and whatnot. He is just really, really good and dominant, and I really enjoyed hearing his voice sing out. I also liked his relationship with Zac Efron's character. Yes, Zac Efron is back in a musical finally. After High School Musical, the trilogy, and Hairspray, he is now returning to the musical scene. I hope for more movies and productions like this because he's such a good singer. And you really do forget that after not hearing him for so long, but he has this duet with Hugh Jackman, which is really, really well done, and you have his duet with Zendaya, which is also very well done. Two different types of songs, but you can really tell that his voice is really evolved and matured, and he does a fantastic job, and I really want to see him in more roles like this, and not just the frat boy that he's been playing for the last couple of years. So that being said, the singing in this film is fantastic. This is basically the film that I wanted La La Land to be last year. I had such high hopes for La La Land for me, but just did not end up being the movie that I wanted it to be. It had maybe 3 original songs and then a bunch of reprises of those songs. It didn't really do a whole lot, and it was really unfortunate for me, and I really didn't enjoy it that much. This film has about 10 songs or so, and they're spread out very evenly. They're very fun to listen to, and they just work really, really well. They are kind of the typical musical fashion in which they're kind of spontaneous singing and dancing and all that stuff, which wouldn't make sense in the real world, but just works really well because you can tell that the actors are really enjoying themselves. And so yeah, this is a soundtrack which I will be listening to off and on repeatedly for a very long time to come. The film is an hour and 45 minutes, so it is kind of a brisk-paced movie. It does move pretty quickly. The first act kind of gets to a point, it's like, oh, we're already at this point. I didn't really expect that. I expected it to be kind of a longer evolution to P.T. Barnum getting his act together, per se. That happens very, very quickly, and we get to see basically what happens after that occurs, and the backlash that he gets, and the fame that he receives as well. I did have a few slight issues with the film, however, and they're just kind of minor things, but there are things which I noticed, which did kind of bug me a little bit. Zac Efron's character, he starts out as kind of rich, pretentious guy who isn't really happy with his life, but he has this life of riches and luxury and whatnot. And so there's a scene at a bar where Hugh Jackman's character is trying to convince him to join the circus, be his right-hand man, essentially. And it just seems like a very quick turnaround for Zac Efron's character, who hadn't even attended one of the shows, supposedly, and just had no real interest in the circus before hearing Hugh Jackman talk about it. And then right after that scene, he's just on board, he's supportive, he is just doing everything he can as his right-hand man. I expected a little bit more conflict, or a little bit more tension, I guess, between him and the oddities or the strange people who he was going to be dealing with. And I just didn't have that. It just seems like a very quick change of heart. There are also a little bit of loose ends, I felt like, in the film. There's a scene towards the middle-ish where Hugh Jackman's character, he's at this big party, essentially, after a show has happened, and his act and his people are trying to get into the fancy party, and he basically just closes the door on them. And so I thought there'd be a little bit more backlash because of that, but we never really see it. And that was kind of something which just seemed a little bit odd to me, and I feel like something was a little bit left out. Maybe they took out a scene or two here or there that would have had that conflict and made a resolution to it, and it just is never really brought up again outside of just a musical number which follows that. And that's a result of the film being an hour and 45 minutes, very fast paced, moving very, very quickly. They don't want to bore people that much because it is an original musical. It's never been done before, original songs, everything like that. So it doesn't have the name brand of like Les Miserables or Wicked or something like that to fall back on. So they have to have something which is fun and quick and is going to keep people interested and awake. But there are just little bits and pieces here or there which it felt like there could have been a little bit more depth to, or more things dealt with in certain scenes, primarily dealing with Zac Efron's character, but it just felt like things were missing, but I understand maybe why they were missing. But lastly, as you expect, the message in this film, where everyone is unique in their own way, everyone deserves to be on stage, they shouldn't be hidden, everyone deserves to be admired for their own unique traits and personalities and what have you. That's a really good message. I enjoyed it. It's not like shoved in your face for the most part, and I enjoyed it for what it was. I don't really know how faithful this is to the real P.T. Barnum story. I know pretty much nothing about who he was as an actual person, or his family life, or how he treated his cast at the circus, or anything of that sort. So I don't know how faithful this is. I've heard it's a loose adaptation of the actual story, so take that as you will. But guys, I'd be lying if I said that I didn't enjoy this and I didn't have a smile on my face for almost the entirety of this hour and 45-minute runtime for this film. This is, like I said, the musical that I wanted La La Land to be last year for me, and it delivered. I had such a blast listening to this, to the music, to the scene, the energetic people which were on screen, and the energy which just flowed through the cast, and it was just infectious for me. And I was the only person in the theater tonight. Granted, it was like a 5 o'clock showing, and it was the first showing of the film, but I really hope that more people go out and see this, because it is really, really good. And I think that it deserves to have an audience which is going to enjoy it and maybe gain a likeness for musicals or something to that degree as a result of this, because I'm a huge musical fan, and just seeing this film, I had a smile on my face the whole time. I really, really enjoyed it. It's probably going to be in my top 10, honestly, for the year, just because I enjoyed it that much, and I would definitely go see this again in a heartbeat. But guys, those are my thoughts on The Greatest Showman. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Did you like it as much as I did? Did you hate it more than I did? Let me know. Like, favorite, comment, and subscribe once again if you so choose. I appreciate it immensely. And as always, my people, my name is Nick Pell, and once again, keep on watching.